Hey there. You've probably heard about the temperaments as defined by the humours. That would be the idea that the four elements that make up everything also define our own internal character. So there are people who are fiery, there are people who are airy, there are people who are watery, and there are people who are earthy. And their own thinking and their personality qualities reflect the element which is dominant. And we all have them all, but there can be one that's really ahead. And someone who's got a very dominant element is extremely prone to approaching things in that manner and viewing things in that way. Now, obviously, a systematic course of meditation training should allow you to balance these elements and to be more flexible and to have a more clear, enlightened and realistic view of the world. However, when you first start, you might want to watch out for the dominant element sabotaging the way you are approaching your training, because you're used to viewing things and dealing with things with that element as the primary lead. We're looking for a balanced training to bring around a balanced personality. So fiery people, if they've got before them a training system that has specific goals, will work very energetically towards them. They're after achievement, they're after success. And this means that sometimes there's a bit of confusion. They'll do things to try to just tick off the goal without really connecting with the purpose. So this would be a bit like, if you saw someone working on a conveyor belt and they didn't really mind the quality of what was being made as long as they just ticked off as many production units as were required. This is why you see some meditation teachers and appeal to some students with speed. They'll say, right, you can get through this course of training in 2 weeks, even though it says 6 months normally. But if you listen to what they're talking about, there's very little interest or excitement about the actual outcome. So they're not saying you'll be able to elevate your consciousness or cultivate virtue or have a deeper insight. There's no sense of being careful or gentle or perfecting things. It's about speed. And that also means that although they've got a lot of discipline, fire people might be very quick to tick things off and move on. They're really after the next goal, and it could be at a cost of squinting, so if they had a goal of cultivating calm, they'd do that for 3 or 4 days. And if they hadn't sort of shouted, they say, right, that's it, I'm changed, I'm transformed, done, achievement, celebration. And they find it very hard just to stay on one thing until it's absolutely clear. So that's one of the problems of sort of the fire person. And you can also see in their training, sometimes it'll be seen as a bit of a challenge. And though that can be good to view your training as a bit of a challenge, it can have a sort of a tenseness and a firmness and dedication to it that could be counterproductive. A bit like someone tensing when they're trying to lift something. The muscles are working against themselves. So they're so pressured in their meditation. They're sitting there trying to clear their mind of all thoughts or trying to be completely calm. And it's quite tense. And their concern that they might not achieve it might be working against their achieve it. And it's probably working with these very, very motivated people that cause a lot of the Buddhist advice when they're saying, let go of the the vision of the outcome. This advice was given in monasteries of people really straining too much. And that's where that advice probably evolved. Now, if you're an air person, you're used to using your intellect to solve things and puzzling things out. And it might be that it's hard to take things as a simple exercise or solution because your mind wants to find the right strategy. So it's probably important to remind yourself a lot that it's about improving, you're trying to create stimulus to purify the mind, develop the will, elevate the consciousness. And that's the goal. So you need to make sure that that's a predominant wish of your heart in your training. Otherwise, your mind will be continually trying to work out how to do the exercises specifically in order to achieve success. Think about in terms of how simple instructions, if overthought about, can become riddles. If someone said to you, I'd like you to walk to the shops. You said, right, do you want me to do anything on the way? I said, no, just walk to the shops. Don't do anything else. He said, well, do you want me to go directly? Say, yes, go walk to the shops just as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Someone with a very dominant air element, if given that goal in a spiritual context, would ask a lot of questions. Just walk to the shops. Am I allowed to think about anything else? Well, don't get too distracted. Okay, so I can think about some other things. Am I allowed to stop and talk to people? Yeah, you can say hello, but don't stop. So I can say hello. Now, you want me to get there as fast and efficient as possible. Does that mean I can run? But you did say walk. So where's the borderline between walk and run? And just walking to the shops, I find that if I look around, I'm thinking about other things and I'm prone to drifting or not being as efficient. Should I just look at my sat-nav and not look at the surroundings? Could I do that? What if I was just to look at my feet so I could just walk to the shops? That's the kind of reasoning. And you imagine someone who's asked to clear the mind of all thoughts. They'll be thinking, well, of all thoughts, is the awareness that I'm sitting there trying to clear my mind of thoughts a thought? What is a thought then? If I hear a noise, if a bird lands on the roof and I think, even if I don't have pictures or words, but I'm aware that's a bird on a roof, or I'm aware of the noise, isn't that a thought? What does it mean to clear your mind of all thoughts? So you can get very caught in consciousness here. So the counter to this a lot is to remember, just like a weightlifter wants to increase the strength of their muscles, and the purpose isn't just to lift the weight, because couldn't we? We could sit down and come up with all sorts of ways of swinging weights or getting them up into the air. But if the aim is to improve yourself, then we just want a simple, defined method so we can add increased pressure to increase the strength of the muscles. The same with meditations. We just want exercises which are simple and that we can increase the challenge to the consciousness, to evolve the consciousness. That's what we're aiming for. So it's probable the best approach isn't a subtle strategy one. It's probably a simple repetition that leads to improvement, whereby we're testing our mind with something. Now, if you're a water person will find the whole definition of goals quite tricky. If they're very dominant water, they'll do the exercise, enjoy it, reflect upon it, have a response, break the rules probably within it, and move on to something else. So they need to really pin themselves to this is a means to gain an ability. They'll often say, I can't do that. So I can't imagine, so I'm not doing visualization exercises. And you say, no, the aim is to learn to do something you can't do, so you have to start with just a little bit of it, just like this little spark. No, I can't do that. And often even switch to, it's too easy. So they have all sorts of emotional objections to the restraint, to the goal, to something there. And that's going to be part of the challenge for the water person. Now, an earth person may well be too comfortable. So they'll put everything in place, they'll get the accoutrements, they'll get the objects, they'll get the place where they're going to sit, and they'll learn the exercises, and they'll just do them, and that's it, and they're okay. And if you say, right, next step, they'll say, oh yes, yeah, next step, I'm just working towards it. And they may have all sorts of practical reasons. I think I'll start the exercises after this life thing, or I've stopped them because of this. It's not practical at the moment. They won't get frustrated. They'll spend 3 years on exercise and won't be getting any better. And there's not enough vavavoom or oomph. They're just sort of sitting in the presence of the exercise, and they'll watch themselves be distracted or not quite perform it right again and again without worrying. So that person might need a teacher and a little bit of a prod to keep things moving, to evolve things, to build, to make something grow, something improve, to have a solid foundation to keep going and to start. Because, let's face it, everyone watching this video, if you were going to wait for the ideal time to do something, you wouldn't do it. So this video is just an exploration of the way that a very dominant element, either one of fire, air, water, or earth, might cause a little bit of disrupted or inefficient training. And the part of the balance is making sure that your training is all for those in one and in harmony. And it might be slightly uncomfortable to begin with, but also refreshing in the sense that you're going to be improving and seeing new aspects and characteristics of yourself.